Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Catherine Watson. I'm director of the European Cultural Foundation. And ECF is really happy that this is one of the key moments, one of the events in our 60th anniversary year. ECF was founded 60 years ago by some European thinkers who said quite strongly that Europe needed to be more than an economic alliance, more than an industrial partnership, more than coal and steel, and there would not be anything if culture wasn't at the core. And that's been the mission for ECF for the last 60 years. Now, of course, the environment within which we work has changed substantially, but the mission remains. This evening will be there are three elements, not so much three parts. We are launching a book called Remixing Europe. We have a short conversation today of about 20 minutes, and then an hour-long presentation by the European Souvenirs Collective, their second creation called Urovisions. I would just like to make a couple of special thanks. First to the Doc Next Network, which is the network of media organizations, Mode Istanbul, Future Film from the BFI in London, Creative Initiatives Ö in Warsaw, and Zemos 98 in Sevilla, who have come together over the last couple of years and have worked on not only a shared cause and interest, but also special projects like the performance that you'll see later and the publication that we launched today. All of this would not happen, of course, without partners, and we've been very happy that this particular evening and the work that we've been doing has been supported by the Amsterdam Fonds voor de Kunst and also by Stichting Democratie en Media. That, and if some of you read last week, there was a rather in-depth article in the Groene Amsterdammer that looked at the situation of immigration and actually questioned why is it not a larger, wider debate as we lead up to the European elections, and not just a debate, but why is it a one-sided presentation? So this underlined for us the urgency of all of the things that have been investigated through the publication and also through the collective art piece that's been created. So the first element I mentioned is, as I try and balance these pieces, is this book, which is certainly available to all of you. You can register at the registration desk, leave your name, and you can receive a copy of the book. And how it has been created is it took 4 specific media incidents that may not on the surface have appeared very big. And it took these media incidents in 4 countries and investigated them, unraveled them through essays, through images, through exchange. And what came out of the sort of compelling web of stories that these media incidents generated. And so just to say that this conversation, as you may have already seen, will be in English. The performance that follows will be in several languages and subtitled in English, subtitled in Dutch, sorry. So I would like now to introduce my 2 colleagues on stage. Juan Luis Sanchez from Spain is a journalist, and he's a leading figure in the online and widely read eldiario.com, and he's been a contributor to the book. And joined also by Naima Tahir, who lives here in the Netherlands. Naima is a human rights lawyer and an author whose work often reflects on the issues of migration and women's issues. Juan Lu, first, your essay describes the work of Aida Quinatoa, and she worked tirelessly against evictions in Spain, but she was absolutely unable to attract any media attention to the cause. The media didn't pick it up. They didn't follow it. Not until, I would say, the idea migrated to a more safe space. So when it became a Spanish issue, not, as the media said, an immigration issue. I would just like to read a very short quote from someone you quoted in your essay, Lucas Stello. And he said, communities of migrants are badly represented in TV. Some of them do not even appear, and of course, we never see how they work to improve their tough reality, because for the media, it seems they do not have any rights. And what you've said is you feel that the media is complicit in this. The media are accomplices. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more of the experience and other experiences in Spain and how you see this as the media being part of the problem.
Okay. Hello, everyone. The girl that you just saw in the previous images was Aida Quinatoa, as Catherine has told you. She is a migrant domestic worker in a very simplified and traditional media way to express it. But she was the president of the Ecuadorian People Organization in Spain. And she was in 2008 and 2009 telling the journalist, hey, we have a problem. Not we, the Ecuadorian people, we as a society have a problem. The financial crisis already is here. We are suffering it, Ecuadorian people, but you will suffer it very soon. And we are being evicted from our homes because we can't pay for our mortgages because actually we are being fired because the crisis is here already. So Spanish people, Spanish society denied that. Traditional media denied that version of reality for years. No one listened to them. And then means thousands of people gathering in rooms like this one, talking about the issue, we are being evicted, and telling the media, hey, come and tell the story of this meeting. You know, this is an event. You can tell the story of an event. That's what journalists want. You know, all people together in a room is even, you know, you can do television with that. But they didn't. We didn't. Yeah, there was a huge silence of the eviction problems of migrants that were designed to suffer the, you know, the hit. What happened next is that 4 years after, 3 years after, the conversation on evictions became massive because it starts to affect Spanish people. It starts to affect middle-class people. We had tremendous figures of evictions every month. We're talking about thousands of people being evicted. So it really came during the 2011 protests as the big issue, became the big social protest in Spain. And traditional media began to talk little by little until talking all the time about the issue. But still, Aida Quinatoa remains being an invisible migrant because, you know, traditional media prefer to call the Spanish spokesperson, which are very good. But they still treat this problem because it's a Spanish one for Spanish people. So there you have that little story that we told in the book with Lucas Tello story and my chapter as well, and how these people warned us about what we were to suffer some years after. And they remain silent because we push them to silence. Those are invisible migrants. Of course, we have also visible migrants, those that try to jump the fences in the southern border of Europe. You may have been watching these images of Lampedusa boats today, for instance, where 100 children were found in 2 boats. Or you may have seen the people trying to jump the wall, the white wall, the fence that we Spanish borders have in Africa, because Europe has 2 cities in Africa. That images are really, you know, they impact on public opinion. So newspapers traditionally put them on front pages, but they are so the exception of how migrant people come to Spain, that they are giving the sensation that people are attacking us. Actually, they use the word assault in the headlines. They use the word avalanches in the headline. So you have thousands of migrant invisible people doing our domestic work, and a few people that has no other way to get into Spain than risking their lives and being very visible, but not in a humanitarian way or not in a social justice approach, but in a security and defense way of talking. So that's pretty much the story.
Yeah, I think earlier this week I was watching a television program, and it was one of these ones where the TV announcers were looking at headlines from various international press, and one of them came from a newspaper, it was an African newspaper called Daily Trust. And it struck me as this was how the media had been looked at in past, that it was trustworthy and that it was somewhere you could look for truth. Naima, one of the other examples in the book comes from the UK, and it's an initiative, a campaign that was generated by the Home Office, where they had put on the side of lorries where they had used social media. They had a Twitter campaign that was encouraging, as they had said, illegal immigrants. If you're here illegally, phone this number and we can help you go back to where you came from. In fact, that campaign, it was a pilot, and it didn't really have many legs, and it backfired, actually, within social media. What would be interesting for me to hear from you is some thoughts on this issue of trust and this lack of trust, or now mistrust, that there is of media, and actually new forms of media, where that fits in. I think it's on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the mistrust. I think, as you were saying, many people have different perceptions of migrants. They know migrants. They have a face. They have a story, and that's why that's where the mistrust starts. And I think when migrant communities emancipate, so you had the first generation, and they were not very eloquent, and you had the second generation. They started critically looking at policies and looking at their image. They're speaking out. They've been writing about it. There's immigration literature. And that's where the mistrust started. So media kept and keeps this image of the needy migrant, the migrant who's come to use the welfare state, the criminal person. It's mostly male, mostly young, they're mostly fraudulent. And they have this image which is constant. And that besides that, you have this parallel image of a variety of stories of migrants from literature, and now even from social media, but also from the experiences of people themselves. When I looked at this, it brought me back to the 70s. I was born in London, near to London, Slough. And I lived there. My parents are from Pakistan. They're Pakistani immigrants who came to England to work and have a better life. And I remember slogans on the wall saying, "Paki, go home." So Paki was a very awful term they used for not just Pakistanis, but for all people with dark skin. And the idea was that they should leave because there was this huge, people felt swamped, as Margaret Thatcher said. People felt swamped by migrants. It changed the society. And I was a child. I was maybe 8 or 9 when I saw this slogan. I didn't feel anything about it. But after, when I grew up and I started writing about migration and studying about immigration in the UK, for example, where I come from, you notice that there was this huge racism and institutionalized racism. And that's what this reminded me about. This gives one particular image of the immigrant. It's a criminal person, and you even see handcuffs, which is very disturbing. When I used to work for the Council of Europe, I was responsible for migrant workers' protection. And one of the aims of the Council was to combat misleading images and misleading information on migrants. And this is very, very misleading and very one-sided, and it just keeps feeding this old view of the bad guy, the immigrant who's just come to bring bad news, whereas there is much more to an immigrant. There's much more, there's this triple win, which Kofi Annan spoke of some years ago at the UN level. Triple win. When a migrant comes to a certain country, 3 parties win. The migrant wins, the country of destination wins, and the country of origin wins. And if you focus on that aspect, on the triple win, you see different images arising, a more positive view. And I think that's the way forward.
I think one of the things to wrap, because it's a short 20 minutes, is the article that was in the Groene Amsterdammer last week, on the 8th, actually, the eve of Europe Day, was a very in-depth investigation into migration, immigration laws, and the amount of money that has gone in on a European level to building the fence higher, to making the walls thicker for Fortress Europe, to make the surveillance more intense, and the millions and millions that has gone into that, and raising the question, why is there not a more balanced discussion? Why is it only focusing on that? And not to say that the gate needs to be completely open, but should there not be some kind of a more open discussion, looking for solutions, European solutions to something that is a European problem. So perhaps, I mean, if we think also that that Europa was perhaps the first boat person, if we look into Greek mythology, and here we are now with this, as the article used the metaphor, in the middle of this difficult to solve Greek tragedy in the broadest sense. So maybe some final thoughts on media representation, where we need to go in trying to change that, how we could enter into that, and what is blocking us from having a broader debate.
Okay, as we were talking about this, defense approach on borders. Last February, in these two Spanish cities that are in mainland, African mainland, that's Ceuta and Melilla, and in one of them, in Ceuta, 15 people died. They died trying to get to the coast. They were already in Spanish waters, and they tried to get to the beach, and in the meanwhile, some Spanish guards started to shoot rubber bullets around them to frighten them. Of course, they panicked, and 15 of them drowned and died. It was so hard to make some journalism about what happened and know the threat that they supposed. Because everyone said, okay, what do you want? You want to open the gates to everyone? And our response was always, okay, the opposite thing of 15 people dying is not opening the gates, is preventing that 15 people die. So let's think about that. Let's think, how do we prevent people dying? And then we can talk about how we manage borders. But this is not about defending our fortress. This is about taking care of people.
Taking care of people. I mean,
or enabling people to be happy.
The same article said every day 4 or 5 men, women, and children die. Naima.
Well, I would just really briefly respond to your question. I think the policies and the imagery is fear-based. And there is a lot of fear in Europe that, Europe will become very, very poor if more immigrants come. And it's a political, political parties bank on that fear for electoral success. So they say we can, put this Fortress Europe up, and then we can keep the immigrants out, and we'll stay wealthy, and we can provide for our children. And I think one of the solutions would be to maybe highlight the success stories. I don't always think that the small narratives of each immigrant are always appealing to people, because sometimes they're very sad. People also want to look at the success story, but not starting from the immigration point. I'm a migrant and I've made so much success. No, I think once you have a successful person, people are interested in that successful person, and then they find out, oh my goodness, this was an immigrant. And I take Obama as an example. He has an immigration background, but it wasn't something he played the card with, I'm an immigrant's son. No, he was a community worker and he built himself up. And now he became successful. People liked his ideas, they liked the person, felt sympathy for him, and then you learn, wow, he was also an immigrant's child. Yeah. And then that opens your mind to the positive view. So that might be a good way, against the fear-based approach and imagery, bank into the success story, not focusing on immigration, but focusing on the success, on what they've achieved.
Not where you've come from, but where you are. Unfortunately, our time is up. we'll move directly to the performance, but I will take the opportunity again to remind you that if you would like a copy of the book, you can receive it by registering at the desk at the entrance. I'd also like, in addition to the thanks earlier, to thank the Eye, not only for hosting us here, not only for providing a stage for the performance and for this conversation, but also for opening up their archives, because the European Souvenirs Collective, how they work is, as young artist, is by investigating what is existing in private, in personal archives, in home movies and so on, but also in public archives, to look at what are the images that we have collected and what do they mean, and then remixing those to see is there another image that is possible. And not only is there another image that is possible, but to really push what is the prevailing image. So what you will see is a lot of the prevailing image that is there, because that's what the media has been giving us. That's what we've been receiving. So I would like at this point to introduce the artists of the collective. They are Noriko Okaku from the UK, Malaventura from southern Spain, who lives very much at the edge of that deluge, of that sea that we're threatened with, Karol Rakowski from Poland, and Farah Rahman from here in The Hague. Hope you enjoy the show. I know you will. And also, if there is anyone in the audience that is interested in attending a masterclass, there will be a masterclass with the artists here in the Eye on the 22nd of May. Thank you very much.
Imagine that you're not blind, but only able to see the night. Imagine that you're not deaf, but only able to feel the silence. And surrounded by these no things. Now imagine how it is to live, almost dying.
Tunisia, you forget Libya, you forget everything, and you think about how I will die. This is the important question, let's say. When you watch left, right, up, down, you see only blue sky and blue water. It was being many strong wave, and the boat it's full of water. And we ask driver, he tell us if the weather will stay like this, we will be fine. If the weather has become more windy, I would say, well, I'm so sorry for you. When you see yourself so little in this vast, let's say, sea, you think about many. Why push yourself in this dangerous adventure? It's not adventure, it's more. For this, I have to say thanks, God. Really. But we are fine. We are fine, but I not must forget this moment.
country 8 years ago, and since then I have not had one single peaceful night.
This is the habitat of the house. What is your name, brother?
I'm Said by name.
Where do you come from?
I came from Cotonou.
Okay, you are a Republic of Benin, man.
Yeah.
Why did you leave home, brother?
Brother, you know, the situation of the country and so many things we are suffering about. In short, we don't know what to do because we are suffering. That is why we are trying to go to Europe so that we can get some kind of job and we can buckle up with all those kind of systems.
If I had a nice life in Afghanistan, I would never have left my country. No human being puts himself in a situation with no house, no country, and no possibility to survive. Only when your house is destroyed, you will leave it.
You know, because in short, Africa, there is nothing in Africa. Africa is bullshit, man. Africa is bullshit. I'm tired of Africa. I don't even know why I came from Africa. Because if you see the Europeans, look at the way they are doing, look at their system, look everything about them is accurate. But look at we Africa. In short, I don't know what to do about them. That is why I'm finding my way away from that Africa. Sure, you get my point? Because I believe if I get up from the Africa, I will be a big time somebody and I will look fine. No good health, so many things. But look at our house upon the suffering. We are suffering inside the desert. Look at what Jada just came to do in this place. Scatter everything, beat out of us, pack everything away from this place. Look at our house. Look at how we look like now.
It's because that we are going there for better life, you know, just to help our family in some difficulties they live in.
If we had stayed in Afghanistan, it is sure that we would have lost part of our family. On our way to escape Afghanistan, we have so much suffered. But we have endured all this because we wanted to stay together and not lose anybody.
They don't even have pity in mind to say that they should take us to Europe, so that if they, at least the UN should try and even come to this bush and pack everybody to Europe. Sure, you get it? I believe the people are here, they are too small. They are too small for UN to take care of. They are too small. I believe if they come, they take everybody, it's their name, pack them to Europe, fix them in better position. I believe there will be no something like this. Things like this will not be occurring. So I pray to God Almighty, God should touch their mind, and God should look after everything, and God should touch their mind so that they will have the summon courage to help us, because we are suffering here, man. We are suffering.
We are trying to try and come to Europe or other part of the world just to send money back home to help our family, actually, yes. I personally, that's why I left my country.
We had a hope to reach a life where we could sleep safely, have a piece of bread, and be all safe. This is the reason why we have passed very dangerous mountains and waters, and during the journey, many of us have lost members of their family. In the hope of finding a better life, we have lost people. Because we are human beings, we want to live as human beings.
It's not like when you have your wife and children, that's your family. In Africa, you have your father, your mother, your sisters, and you have your mother's sisters, and you have your father's sisters and brothers, and your mother, brothers and sisters, and you have their children. These all are family, you know, and we normally, when we are helping, we are trying to help all those type of them as much as we can, you know, to help all this family, you know, the big family we call it. It's not like other, in Europe here, when they say one family, it's like your wife, your children, I think that's it. We are not that way.
recibimos muchas imágenes de Europa en África, pero no tenemos ni una sola imagen de europeos trabajando. No sabemos de qué trabaja la gente aquí. Es que eso es como si se nos cae el mundo, pero ¿de qué están trabajando esta gente? Es que siempre vemos calles muy limpias, mujeres muy guapas, hombres con trajes corbata y pagando con tarjeta de crédito. Y restaurantes, pero bueno, edificios, pero ¿quién limpia estas calles? No lo sabemos.
Now you don't have to imagine, because you are already blind. You are already deaf. And that makes you feel safe. Hidden in a golden cage. A bird can sing the most beautiful melodies. In there. Protect the golden cage. Brick by brick. Protect the rich. Their sweet disease. Protect the 12 stars. From the moon. Not from the sun. Protect their rights from the wrongs, from the wrongs, from the wrongs. Make them the enemy. Nobody has to know how. Nobody has to know how. Nobody has to know how.
¿Te sientes cómodo en tu piel, rodeado de edificios, bandas magnéticas y continuo superávit? Es muy fácil. Es muy fácil.
Quiet and beautiful. Quiet and beautiful.
Yeah.
Quiet and beautiful.
Yeah. We can do two things at once.
Eres una de las víctimas
Osama bin Laden.
No more slave.
TV traditionnelle.
Welcome to privatization.
TV
This is the best time to come and invest.
TV traditionnelle. TV traditionnelle.
The tickets are now dying.
TV traditionnelle.
Everything is now dying.
TV traditionnelle.
The tickets are now dying.
TV traditionnelle.
The tickets are now dying.
TV traditionnelle.
Osama bin Laden.
The destination of the diamonds is now becoming clear.
To maintain the status quo.
TV traditionnelle.
Euro US dollar.
Businessman's interest to keep conflict going.
The tickets are now dying. The tickets are now
No
dying.
more slaves, no more masters.
TV traditionnelle.
Why we own the
The
land?
tickets are now dying.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
This is the product of war. This is the product of war. This is the product of war. This is the this is the this is the this is the this is this is the this is the
Osama bin
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
I want you to hold your passports. I want you to hold your passports. I want you to say, I am called to travel the whole world. This passport will never be refused. A visa. Receive your visa. What you are anointing your tongue.
Make sure your cloth is dark. Don't come for this side because the driver sometimes you see you in the mirror.
work is good. 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. 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 In the checkpoint, the guard is coming to check the truck. 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. 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 In the checkpoint, the guard is coming to check the truck.
Mi nombre es Abdesalam y soy marinero. Antes mi negocio era la pesca, pero me rompí un dedo y tengo que ganarme la vida de otra manera. Ahora los peces no tienen cola, sino 2 piernas. Yo no soy un tiburón. Yo soy el Gais, el patrón de la Zodiac. Yo soy un profesional. No como esos que estafan a sus viajeros, que les dan vueltas en el mar y los dejan en una playa de Tánger. Yo no lo hago para enriquecerme, pero tengo que ganar dinero para mi familia. Lo dejo en 10.000 y puedo apañarles que alguien les recoja al otro lado y les lleve a Barcelona, a Italia o donde quieran. No hay distancias si pueden pagarlo. Yo soy el Gais, yo soy el patrón, yo soy su protector. A veces he presentido el final, en una de esas noches oscuras, cuando solo se oye el zumbido del fueraborda. He pensado en el dinero, en la comisión del pasador de la Zodiac, y en el que tengo que darle a los Ghaznia, que han hecho la vista gorda entre el bosque y la playa de Sidi Ghazzaid. El tiburón, sí, eso me dicen. El Gais, eso me digo. Pero en el fondo soy menos libre que cualquiera de estos que me miran fijamente, que esperan que les llegue algo, que les preste ayuda o les devuelva el dinero de su viaje imposible. Cualquiera de ellos es más libre que yo. Lo que no es mucho decir, porque si logran conquistar sus sueños sin que la ley los alcance, ese día es el primer día de su esclavitud en Europa. Hay algo que me digo, a ver, ¿quién es su esclavo, eh? ¿Quién no es esclavo? Pero que no me miren. Que no me miréis. Driss, Abdul, Kamal. Que no me miréis, que yo no tengo la culpa.
I think that there is absolutely no reason to militarily close Europe to refugees who need and want to come here. And I think that if the European governments would stop spending money for all this militarization and getting crazy about closing the borders and just would open the borders and welcome the people, it would be a much better place to live in.
huge and heavy armor, a perfect shield, a skin that cannot feel but see, not restricted by the affection, a system of control, a genius creation, a robot that will scan you before you go in. Are you prepared to cross that thing? Are you sure to come in? Better hold your breath. Close your eyes. Try to disappear. Try to disappear. Try to disappear.
Passport, please. Passport, please. Passport, please.
These are my passports, student visa and student card.
Why have you come to the UK?
I came back from Denmark.
What subject are you studying?
I come for study.
What subject are you studying?
I just forgot to write my occupation on the card.
And what subjects do you study?
You work in the UK?
I diploma in study. Business study.
Okay, you say you study 18 hours a week. What days do you study?
Studies are Monday, Tuesday,
How long are you going to stay?
And
No, I don't work in the UK. No, I
what
don't work in
hours?
the UK.
It's
I'm Japanese.
from 11 to 3.
I'm staying for an indefinite amount of time.
On Tuesday, what do you study?
On Tuesday is a management, is a marketing.
I'm staying for an
And on
indefinite
Friday?
amount of time.
On Friday, same hours.
I'm staying for
11
an
to 3.
indefinite amount of time.
That's 12 hours a week. Where's the other 6 hours that you say you study a week?
The 6 hours, I just stay over there.
I was visiting my father in Mexico.
Sometimes I discussion with the friends.
For only 1 week.
Passport,
I'm
please.
more concerned about
I live in London.
the timetabled hours.
Passport, please. I work as a
not meeting up with friends. It's timetabled hours in a classroom with a tutor talking to you about your modules.
Passport, please.
Do you work in the UK?
How long are you going to stay?
You don't know? Okay. Do you work in the UK?
I flew from Caracas.
What do you work as?
Are you going to stay here?
I just go to the recruitment company and after that this and some other
What do you do for a living?
How many hours do you work on? Why do you come to the UK? Exactly right. Where is your college base?
I'm staying for an indefinite.
I'm from Kyoto and I don't know is some stuff I put off and change some leather.
What did you do?
You don't know what stuff?
What did you do for
I'm staying for an indefinite amount of time.
How long?
They confirmed to us in writing.
How long?
Only 1
What
week.
do you do for a living? What do you do for a living?
Yes, I'm traveling by myself.
Why have you come to the UK? Cancelling your visa. Returning back to Pakistan. There's supposed to be 2 options that you have in front of you. You can either stay in the UK for 5 days to appeal, and you'll be in detention for 5 days. Or you can return to Pakistan and you've got 28 days to make an appeal out of country. You want to stay for 5 days in detention. In detention.
Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
So if somebody will not leave the UK voluntarily, we have to detain them in order to return them.
They go through your cases and see why you want to seek an asylum. And I have to stay for 4 months or 5 more. And I have to stay for 4 months or 5 more.
Now, we would much rather that people left voluntarily, but if they fail to do so, we will use detention.
There is security.
They are not here to care for people. They are here to brutalize the people, and they are doing exactly that.
You stay in an area where you are brutalized by the so-called security people. You don't have right to speak.
That might sound too crazy, but that's exactly what is happening there.
We are isolated. If you isolate a human being in an institution, in a jail, because this is a jail, you just give them something to drink, something to eat. You say you cannot go out, you cannot work, you cannot do anything, you just have to wait. What will be the reaction of these people?
Just feel lost and
just feel like deserted.
It will be a very negative reaction.
I saw with my own eyes how people got depressed, how people got mad. It's something I could readily see, personally, physically. And this is the way the system wrecks everybody. Some people just leave it like this and they can't take it anymore. Some just commit suicide.
Inside the camp, you can say nothing comfortable. But it's better than when you stay outside, that's it.
In my room, we're having 98 people. We have to take it easy because we have no choices. We need help from them, so we have to cooperate with them and we have no choices.
We keep detention at the shortest possible time. If people comply with their return, they will be with us for a matter of days.
They give you the impression it's going to be all right. It's just for a while, it's just for a short time, it's going to be all right.
They want to sleep us in this situation, I think.
And we don't know what will happen. You just have to eat, drink, sleep. Eat, drink, sleep.
So only we are waiting. That's it, waiting.
Eat, drink, sleep.
Our job is waiting.
Sadly, there are those that fail to comply, and those, inevitably their detention will become a little bit more prolonged.
When they see that you are helping, they will not repress you in a direct way. They will try to isolate you from them by sending you in other places. And then you will be transferred in places even worse than what we are. Tell you, okay, you have to go now.
To stay at one place for 1 year is very hard. And I have to stay for 4 months or 5 more.
There are some who has been there for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. What are you doing here for all this time?
And because of this kind of frustration, we ourselves do fight ourselves inside because everyone is tired with this kind of detention period. So anything that someone says or do gets you anger.
All that maybe make you so nervous, so you don't feel that you are human. Sometimes you can't sleep because you're thinking. Sometimes you can't sleep because it have many voices. Always the same routine, understand? Always, every day. Always, every day. Always, every day. But you have to accept it, you have to accept it. The one sweet thing which you keep it in your mind that it's problem about this, nothing more.
Spain, 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 Spain. El derecho de votar. Yo tengo los papeles que hemos estado construyendo durante tanto tiempo. En lo cual yo no veo ningún problema. El único problema que veo es que en una sociedad que me exprime tanto, ¿quiénes son los derechos que me otorgan?
This is London calling.
En lo cual yo no veo ningún... España, 4 points.
A un principio, los primeros meses, empecé a trabajar limpiando cristales en tiendas grandes. Me metí a una empresa en la cual mi madre trabajaba, cuidando a personas mayores. Me metí a trabajar ahí también y empecé a trabajar ya con las personas mayores.
Cuidar mayores, eso una cosa también nueva. Cuando estaba con ellos yo pensaba cómo puedo hacer, qué tengo que hacer, muy difícil. Y poco a poco digo que no, está muy bien, como mi familia.
Tenía que ir, lavarles, levantarles de la cama, cambiarles, ponerles el pañal y dejarles limpio.
Limpiando, cuidando las cosas que
que no se manche una pared o la ropa también. Cuando hay uno descosido estoy costurando, como si fuera mi casa. A veces yo digo, pero ¿qué estoy haciendo? ¿Acaso es mi casa? Digo.
Tú donde trabajas tienes que pensar que ahí tú trabajas, ¿sí? No puedes decir a ellos toda cosa. Tú también tienes dentro un problema, no puedes hablar, ¿sí? Querías que estás sola, puedes porque tienes niños tu país.
Cuando salía de allí no quería entrar a espacios cerrados. Mi hija me decía que la fuera a visitar a su casa y yo le decía no, necesito aire.
Pienso que el esfuerzo que estoy haciendo es para mejorar la vida de mis hijos, su futuro.
Para mis hijas, yo puedo hacer todo.
Ya no pienso en nosotros, ¿no? Sino en el futuro de mis hijos.
No he hecho menos. Antes sí, porque ahora que más preocupada por mi trabajo, por mi cosa, no piensan para eso.
Y a veces tus hijos, nuestros hijos están desatendidos. Eso es lo más duro.
Pero ¿hasta dónde llega a hacer cosas por el dinero? ¿No?
But I was expected to find a job as a cleaner or an office job. That was what I was thinking that I would find in Europe. But that is not what I found. I found prostitution in Europe.
Here, people are enforced to make crimes because they have nothing to eat. For me, myself, for more than 6 months, I was just live at public garden. Nothing here, nothing at all. Regarding people dying slowly here, just guess that somebody with no shelter, with no food at winter. Well, what can we call that? Can we call this European Union? I don't think so. European countries must feel ashamed of this. Which country does like this? Let us to be very clear. Here everybody consider you as an animal. People have their own problems, they want to solve it, they have no time for us. They told you that, why you came here? You have to go to your country, even officials.
Otro inmigrante, otra vez, otro inmigrante, estoy cansado de estos putos inmigrantes, porque no se van a su puto país.
No sé, a veces digo, ¿cuándo me iré? ¿Cuándo estaré? ¿Cuándo me iré? ¿Cuándo estaré?
De votar, yo tengo lo no solamente somos iguales en un papel y luego esta misma gente que te dice que somos iguales es el que se mata ahí para mantener una barrera para diferenciarse de los otros.
Like a castaway after the shipwreck, you're feeling fortunate. You're still breathing. You're still able to see the sun shining. Thankful that you've not disappeared. You're on the side of good. At last. And not inside of the sea's guts. But like a castaway on a desert island, you have to look for food and shelter. You have to learn to fish with the net of the language. You have to create a bonfire with the logs of the friendship. And like a castaway on a desert island, be careful of the cannibals, because they are there for sure, hidden somewhere, patiently waiting to taste your flesh. If they catch you, they'll bite you and make you believe that instead of Robinson Crusoe, your name is Friday.
Multiculti has failed. 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 Multiculti has failed.
Our culture is far better.
Ich bin ein Europäer.
They have no right to work, no right to stable housing.
You. Ich bin ein Europäer.
3, 4, 5. Don't be fooled by their stupid numbers.
Illegal immigrants.
3, 4, 5.
European way of life. Ich bin ein Europäer.
الساعة سوريا خطر كثير. بدي أرجع دارنا عن قريتنا عنخل لحد ما بطيق قريته. أنا تركت ما في قذف، هسه الله نشوف فيها.
يلا يا عبد الله انزل. انزل يا عبد الله. انزل.
Ça, c'est les cassettes. Tellement que c'est dur. Il pleut, vous travaillez sous la pluie. Hein? Vous travaillez sous la pluie. Tu vois la pluie glaciale de l'Europe. La nuit, tu viens, où vous dormez, il n'y a même pas de chauffage. Le matin, encore à 5 heures, tu dois être debout pour aller encore faire le même travail que tu as fait hier en pleurant. Parce que tout ça, pour revenir, pour pouvoir gagner quelque chose pour revenir chez toi. Ya mama Sisse, ya Sisse.
We are happy of what he has brought for us. So we have to let him go back and to get more than this one.
تليفون مهم كثير. بنتصل على سوري نشوف يعني شو فيه. من حاجة خالتي بتقول لي إن عاد شوفي بنخل إذا آمن نرجع.
Moi, je rêve d'aller en Europe. Même si je vais mourir là-bas, je préfère mourir en Europe au lieu de mourir en Afrique. Moi aussi, je préfère d'aller voir avec mes yeux.
En Europe, là, c'est grave. Ouais. Mais moi, j'ai déjà essayé, non? Et ça, il s'est dit. Moi, j'ai déjà essayé. C'est pas bon, ça va pas. C'est le rêve, parce que si on dit l'Occident, l'Europe, hein, vous voyez dans les télévisions, tu vois, ils croient que c'est ça, quoi. Là, c'est autre chose. La réalité, là, c'est autre chose. Les films, les télévisions nous font croire que là-bas, c'est des mises en scène. Hein. C'est pas la réalité.
We Africans go to Europe for our daughters, our sons, mothers, even our uncles, our aunts. But there is a big price to be paid. A big price. I have not seen my daughter for 6 years.
I don't recognize my
سيريتين أقضي سوريا بتجاريها وين في تخطيط طول العالم. مش بس إحنا لحالنا، عالم كثير كثير مشكور بحاجوا قرايبهم.
في كهرباء ومي كهرباء ومي تشيل البلد.
لحد ما بيخاف أولاد عمه ولا أخواته. يعني بس أحكي معهم بتذكرهم كلهم، دارنا وإمامي كلهم. تلفون ليش مهم؟ من حاجة قرايبنا نرجع سوريا من ورا 100